Hello all. Good morning again.
Good morning.
A warm welcome. Good morning, sir. A warm welcome from the Department of English, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women. First and foremost, I extend my sincere apologies for starting late, actually. So we are having a little bit of issues here with the live streaming. So kindly bear with us. So participants who are actually about to watch through the live streaming, you can inform your friends that it will start within 5 or 10 minutes. So without any further delay, I think we can just start the meet. And for the ones who cannot just catch up, the recording will always be there. You can just try and get it from our YouTube channel. Before beginning, I would like to present my sincere notes of gratitude to my management of the SNR Sons Charitable Trust and my most revered principal, Dr. K. Chitra, for helping us, for being a guiding force in organizing events of this manner. And I'm very, very happy to inform you that this is our third webinar series after the lockdown. So now, as the lockdown is lifted up, I just cannot say that it's again a lockdown series. Very, very happy to see this overwhelming participation from all over India. And I would sincerely like to present my notes of gratitude to all the 5 resource persons who have very, happily agreed to participate. And it is only because of their wisdom and the inputs that they are going to give that this series will be very successful. And they are bringing as the title of the event says, it's differentiated instruction in the English language classroom. And we are going to present the new perspectives. All the 5 resource persons are going to present 5 different perspectives. And these 5 perspectives will definitely help the faculty as well as students to realize the subject and to read it from a different angle from now on. And it will definitely help us to know a little better, to handle the class a little better. And if you are a student, it will definitely help you to look at the subject a little more better. So these new perspectives, you're going to deal with it from 5 different angles. And I'm very, very sure that these 5 days would be definitely helpful to you. And without any further delay, I would like to hand over the session to the coordinator of this event, Dr. Mahalakshmi, to introduce the guest. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So it's my honor to introduce Dr. J. Anbalakan Vijay, Professor, Department of English, Government College of Technology, Coimbatore. And he has got 20 years of teaching experience in various reputed institutions. And he has authored 7 textbooks for engineering students and external examiner for PhD vivas of several candidates of Anna University, Chennai, and Periyar University, Salem. And he has been a member of the doctoral committee member for Anna University, Bharatiya University, and Periyar University, Salem. And he is the panel member for several interview boards of government-aided and self-financed engineering and polytechnic institutes to recruit English faculty. And he is the expert member in board of studies of various for the Department of English of various reputed institutions, and he has visited several colleges as a resource person. And he is the chief guest for the Literary Association at Government Arts College for Women Krishnagiri and Government Arts College for Men Krishnagiri and various other institutions too. And he is the resource person at webinars. And to add a feather to his cap, he is a keynote speaker at the national seminar held at Padmavati College of Arts and Science, Salem. And he is the chairperson for paper presentation at the national seminar held at Padmavati College of Arts and Science, Salem, international conference held at Anna University, Chennai, SRM University, Chennai. And he has participated in many Tamil events and delivered lectures. And he has published 11 papers in international journals. And he has presented in 6 international and 6 national level conferences. And he has conducted several faculty development programs for Faculty of Engineering and Polytechnics, including teachers of English at all levels. And being the coordinator of all these programs, He has conducted workshops on English grammar, spoken English, and personality development for students of engineering. And his specialization is technical English, business English, Afro American literature, and English language teaching and applied linguistics. And his areas of interest are language and literature in general, comparative literature, and life skills. So he has taught various subjects, and we feel immensely happy to have such an eminent personality amidst us today. Let me hand over the session to our resource person. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahalakshmi, ma'am, for all your warm words of introduction. I'm immensely thankful to Dr. Anandi and the entire organizing team for having given me this opportunity to address a new group of people. Once again, let me confirm if my PPT is visible, ma'am.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Yes. Right. Right. I start with the quotes of Keats. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. The scene participants in actual face-to-face classrooms are sweet, but those unseen, but through virtual classroom like this, are sweeter. Because the unheard, the unseen, and unspoken, unwritten are always unassuming. They remain pleasant, they remain friendly, they remain a challenge. Whatever you are, I deem it a pleasure to be amidst literary stalwarts and eminent speakers and student participants. I extend a very warm welcome to all the participants to my session on pursuits of language skills through reading. And my presentation will focus upon the need for addressing reading skills and the need to adopt an appropriate style for reading and the need to effectively communicate through various reading activities and to develop critical reading skills.
Sir, sorry for the interruption. Can you just
Yes.
make it full screen, sir? This is from the audience. Yeah.
Fine, I'm fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. I start with a few questions which are pertinent to our discussion. The first question is, do we read or do we still read? Still in capital letters, that means a lot. Do we still read? If at all we read, what do we read? Why reading? Right? And if I answer the first question, do we still read? Yes, of course we read. What do we read? We read messages. We read WhatsApp messages or messages on Messenger or messages or posts on Facebook or Instagram. Right? Maybe in all social media messages. Right? And in such case, do we ever read newspaper? Right? Yes, of course we read newspaper as capsule bits of information happens as pop-up screens either on mobile phones or on laptops or computers. When you access internet connection, right? Do we read magazines? Right? Sarcastically, the reading of magazine, or we afford reading magazines only during a waiting period at places like parlor, places like clinic, places that launches in restaurants, right? So we read magazines only during our waiting period. Do we read novels or short stories or short fiction? Of course we read, especially when we become or when we happen to be literature students. We read literature for the examination point of view quite often, right? So this is something regard our reading habit. Why reading? Why reading? All good speakers, all good public speakers are basically readers. All good writers are basically readers. All leaders are readers, right? And that's where exactly, what happens when reading becomes part of a curriculum. What is the scope for reading in curriculum, in English curriculum, right? Say for example, listening happens in English classrooms when you listen to good English. Speaking, we allow students to speak, right? Writing, as far as assessment is concerned, right from KG classes till university degrees, all your proficiency is assessed only through writing. What happens to reading? Reading is quite often restricted only to comprehension, to the level of comprehension, right? So we don't look at reading apart from looking at from the perspective of comprehension, right? So that's where I thought it is wise enough to talk about reading skills or the importance of reading skills to develop language skills, right? So reading is superior to watching. When you watch a scene on a television channel, what happens? You cease to imagine any further. The imagination comes to an end, right? When you watch a scene, right, you don't think anything beyond, right? Your imagination comes to an end. Whereas when you read something in the book, right, as part of reading a novel or a short story, right, there happens multiple layers of imagination, right? Imagination becomes recursive, right? And a reader is superior to a teacher, because for a simple fact that when a teacher explains a concept, teacher conceptualizes something, and whatever that he conceptualizes is being imparted on the students. So there goes only one kind of thinking. Whereas as a reader, when you read, there goes multiple layers of thinking, multiple layers of imagination, right? When there are 100 students, there goes 100 different kinds of imagination, 100 different kinds of interpretations of the same material, right? And even the same person may have different kinds of interpretations, right? So reading leads to unaided discovery, right? Whereas teacher takes you through an aided discovery, right? A book is a device to ignite imagination. As Alan Bennett rightly says, a book is a device to ignite your imagination. Let me explicate through the last example. Reading books has the power to transport to new worlds and to different times, right? Of course, those people who cannot afford to travel, especially across the globe, across the world, right? You can still be taken to places across the world through your reading, right? So reading gives you all the luxuries to travel across the world, right? And you don't have the ability to rewind the clocking in machine, right? Whereas, when you read Arkenara, you tend to know about Malgudi, right? When you read Chinua Ashby, you tend to know about the utopian society, right? So this is not possible to go and remain in a place where these things are happening. To know about the culture, to know about the heritage, to know about the lifestyle of people, right? How life was once in the past, right? So maybe all these things you cannot experience in person, but this kind of experience can be rich enough through your reading, right? And let me explicate through the last example. The boy's name was Santiago. Who is this boy? Question mark, right? But when you look at the name Santiago, you get the clue that the boy may be a Christian, right? He has an identity of Christianity, right? So maybe that is confirmed through the ensuing sentences. Look at the next sentence. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. Now, you look at the setting. This is what is more important, right? Can anyone tell me where these lines appear, or where these lines taken from? Any idea? Right. Let me tell you a little later. Right. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. This is the setting. Right. This is quite important for every writer, especially when he talks about creative writing. Right. So dusk was falling. Probably. It's an evening time. Right. The boy, evening time. It turns dark. The boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. Why is it abandoned church? Or is it a city or village? Especially when you see the boy arrived with his herd, right? You tend to know that no, it must be a reference to a village, right? Maybe there's a rustic reference, right? Boy arrived with his herd. What herd it is? Is it a herd of elephants? Herd of camels? Herd of other animals? Right? So the only herd that is possible in the rustic is goats or sheep, right? So dusk was falling. That is contextually understood. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. When you look at abandoned church, there goes once again multiple layers of imagination. Why is it abandoned? You imagine about your neighborhood church, right, which is in dilapidated condition, right? You think about the church which was demolished recently in France. You imagine the church which has lost its trace in place like Dhanushkodi, right? Maybe the residuals of the church still remains. So there goes multiple layers of imagination. The roof had fallen. Once again, the roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. Right? The roof had fallen in long ago. Right? Once again, there is a description about the abandoned church. The roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore. What do we mean by sycamore? Had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. What do you mean by sacristy? Right? Whether does it refer to an animal or a person or something? Right? We don't know. So why there is a reference about the language is about past perfect, right? Why not past tense? The roof fell in long ago, and an enormous sycamore grew on the spot where the sacristy once stood. Right? Why shouldn't it be like this? Right? So every word has been very carefully chosen in order to ignite your imagination at the first level. Second level, to supplement your imagination, language comes to your rescue. right? So when you use a past tense, you mean to narrate an incident that so happened in the past, right, where you don't have any personal connection. Whereas when you present it in past perfect, you would like to establish a personal connection, because the kind of incident that so happened in the past leave, instance leave an impact on your mind, right? It has a personal connection, right? So you would like to closely associate yourself with the incidents that happened in the past. So the roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore. What do you mean by sycamore? Sycamore refers to a kind of plant, maybe a plant which is grown in North America, right? So once again we see the settings, right? It is a rustic setting in North America, because that kind of plants are not grown in India, right? That had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. Now, there's a perplexity about the word sacristy, right? What is this sacristy? Unless or otherwise you know the word, you are pretty unsure about the meaning and pronunciation as well, right? Sacristy is the place that refers to, um, storing the utensils that are required for doing worship in a church, right? So sacristy had once stood, right? So this maybe it's only two lines, but look at the way the two lines pave way for imagination, pave way for analysis, right? There happens linguistic analysis. There happens analysis at the level of understanding vocabulary, right? Or do you have to pronounce the word sycamore or sycamore, right? So that's what exactly I said. You can be unsure about the meaning of the word, or unless or otherwise you have come across the word, right? So an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood, and these lines are taken from Paulus the Alchemist, which I am currently reading. Right now, as I said no. My focus will be on to know the need for adopting a style for your reading. Right now, there is yeah, maybe with the permission of the organizers, I may ask the participants to do it. Is that possible, ma'am? I'm talking about sentence test now, right? If at all there is a possibility where the participant can interact with me
Yeah, yes, sir.
simultaneously, right? I would be happy, right?
It can be done, sir.
We need to know the time taken from stressed words is always the same, right? Whether the stressed word is a singular word or a group of words, right? The time that is taken to pronounce, right, is going to be the same. That's a first scientific I think that we have to know about it, right? And all content words are stressed, all structure words are unstressed. No, and there is no hard and fast rule in English, because wherever there happens a necessity for it to stress a word, regardless of the fact whether they are content or a structure or functional word, right? When there is a necessity for you to imply a meaning through the word, right? You do an emphatic use of the word, right? So I emerge a sentence. I never said she will meet me, right? A sentence which consists of 7 words with 7 different meanings, and the meaning differs depending upon the way you make a shift on a particular syllable or particular word here, right? So the meaning changes depending upon the way you place a shift on a particular word. Can anyone try? Right, maybe the first point, let me explicate through the ensuing slides. The time taken between stressed words is always the same. So what I want is the teacher has to make practice with his or her students this way, in order to make students understand how the students are involved in meaning making process when they read something, right? Because depending upon the way you read something, right, the reader is involved in the meaning making process. The reader gives life to his reading, right? And can anyone try this? Right? And the red letter words are the clues here, the contextual clues for you to make a shift in your stress. Can anyone try? One of you? I don't have time. Maybe I can wait for a few seconds. If no one comes forward, maybe
Sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
May I try?
Yes, please.
Prerna Ghosh. Yes. It doesn't matter in what
The first
the letters in a word are.
No. The first one. I mean, from 1st to 7, right? I never said she will meet me.
Okay.
You have to stress.
I never said she will
red letter words.
Red words.
Yes, you have to stress the red letter words in order to bring the meaning from those words. Yes.
Meaning of those words.
Yes.
Okay. So I here the stress is on the subject, like who,
yes.
it's
maybe let me read the first sentence. You can understand it better, right? Yes. I never said she will meet me.
Yes.
Right. Second, I never said she will meet me. Right. So when I say when I put the first sentence that way, I never said. Right. Maybe someone else would have said it. Right. But not I. Right. But in the second sentence, I never said she will meet me. Right. Not yesterday, not the day before, not today, not this morning. Right. I never ever said. Right. So the meaning changes depending upon the way you place your stress on a particular word. Clear? Yes. Maybe this way. Sorry for the interruption. Can you go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I never said she will meet me. So I'm going for of the fifth sentence. Sorry. So third is I never said she will meet me.
Yes.
Fourth, I never said she will meet me.
Okay.
Six is I never said she will meet me.
Okay.
7, I never said she will meet me.
Very good. May I know your name? Because it's in slide more. May I know your name?
Yes, sir. Prerna Ghosh.
Very good. Congrats, Ma. Right. Maybe let me complete it quickly. Right. We are running short of time. I never said she will meet me. Right. I said she will meet me. Right. In the third sentence, I never said she will meet me. Maybe I would have thought about it. I would have guessed it, but I never said it. Right. I never said she will meet me. Maybe especially in a context where there is a fluid between you and her, right? The possibility of she meeting you will be remote. So I never said she will meet me. Maybe somebody on her behalf will meet me, right? I never said she will meet me, right? Maybe there is no certainty about her meet, right? Maybe she may or may not meet me, right? Here, look at the fifth sentence. I place the stress on the modal auxiliary, which is not usually the case, right? So wherever there is a necessity, you can also stress the structural words, right? I never said she will meet me, right? So the meeting is impossible. Maybe she would contact me through message or on phone, right? But meeting as such is not possible, right? And the last sentence, I never said she will meet me, right? Because the meeting will definitely infuriate both of us, right? Aggravate the situation. So meeting is not possible. Meeting me is not possible. Maybe she may choose to meet one of my relatives, one of my brothers, one of my sisters, right? One of my relatives, right? So there is no. I never said she will meet me, right? So depending upon the way you shift your stress on a particular word, the meaning changes. The meaning changes, right? This kind of practice can be given. And can anyone read the last one? No. Reading is, as an ELT expert rightly says, a psycho-linguistic guessing game. A good man, an ELT expert called Goodman, he calls reading a psycho-linguistic guessing game. Right? What do you mean by it? There happens a phenological awareness or orthographical understanding of the language. What do we mean by orthographical understanding of the language? Right? Maybe can anyone read it first? Let me proceed further quickly. Right? Or let me read it. It doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letter be at the right place. The rest can be a total maze, and you can still read it without problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole, right? So this is what exactly called an orthographic understanding of the language, right? Depending upon your pre-established understanding of the word, right? You can easily make an association with the word that you are reading. Clear? So it all depends upon the schemata that you were already in, or the prior knowledge that you have acquired to read. Even when the letters are shuffled, you are able to read it properly, right? So what is required is, no, even when the letters are shuffled, you don't find any difficulty in reading it properly, right? Because you don't depend upon the words largely, or you don't depend upon the spellings largely, even when they are shuffled. What do you do is, you rely upon your prior understanding, right? Prior knowledge about the words, about sentence, about phrases. All right. Now, can I take you through phrase reading? Right. This is the most essential part. No, this is where exactly I spoke about every word. I mean, every stressed word has equal amount of timing, right? Whether it's a single word or a group of words, no, it takes the amount taken to read a single word or a group of words is going to be the same, right? Let me read it. I'm not able to give it as a practice, right? Since the time is short. Phrase reading is a technique that builds fluency, aids comprehension, and improves oral reading. Right? Maybe at the beginner level, there's one ELT expert called Mary Ann Evans who classifies the reader into 5 different categories. One is pre-emerging reader. Second is novice reader. Third is decoding reader. Fourth is fluent comprehending reader. Fifth one is expert reader. Right? There are 5 kinds of readers. Right? And for your convenience and my convenience, I have divided into only 3 levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Right? How a beginner does his reading. Right? Here is an example. The same paragraph is given to a reader at the intermediate level. How does he read it? Right? So at the beginner's level, here the slash marks, red slash marks are the contextual clause. Right? For you to effectively employ the pauses, right? Let me read it. Effective reading comprehension requires, look at the first 2 phrases, right? Effective reading comprehension. There are 3 words, and next requires only a single word, right? But the time taken for both is the same. Effective reading comprehension requires almost the same time taken for the first 3 words, right? Effective reading comprehension requires not only accurate reading skills, but also automatic and fluent reading ability. Many struggling readers have difficulty moving to a level of fluency that allows them to easily comprehend what they are reading. We have discussed the underlying processes involved in developing fluent reading, as well as suggested some techniques for improving fluency. Research in the area of developing accurate decoding has consistently indicated that a systematic code-based approach is important for teaching reading skills, right? So this happens at the beginner level, right? You can largely depend upon the slash marks, right? But when reading happens as part of your regular activity, there won't be any slash marks, right? No, you have to mentally do it, right? And when the same thing happens with intermediate reader, how does he do it, right? Let me try. Now, the number of slash marks has been reduced to 50%, right? From the previous paragraph to the next paragraph. Let me read it. Effective reading comprehension requires not only accurate reading skills, but also automatic and fluent reading ability. Many struggling readers have difficulty moving to a level of fluency that allows them to easily comprehend what they are reading. We have discussed the underlying process involved in developing fluent reading, as well as suggested some techniques for improving fluency. Research in the area of developing accurate decoding has consistently indicated that a systematic code-based approach is important for teaching reading skills. Now, you can see, there's a change in the way I read the first paragraph and the second paragraph, right? And as I move on with the advanced level of reading, right, the number of slash marks vary depending upon the number of full stops in the paragraph, right? So there will be as many slash marks as there are full stops in the paragraph, right? Let me read it. Effective reading comprehension requires not only accurate reading skills, but also automatic and fluent reading ability. Many struggling readers have difficulty moving to a level of fluency that allows them to easily comprehend what they are reading. We have discussed the underlying process involved in developing fluent reading, as well as suggested some techniques for improving fluency. Research in the area of developing accurate decoding has consistently indicated that a systematic code-based approach is important. Right? So, what we understand is in time language or time stress language. Without this stress pattern cannot be used, right? English cannot be spoken, right? So this kind of practice is to be given first as part of their loud reading activity, right? Once when they're comfortable, right? I mean, we can take them to through the critical reading aspects. Now, this is linguistically proven examples of one linguist called Pennyur, Pennyyur, right? And she has emerged a few examples as how English language is to be spoken, right? Because there is no one-to-one correspondence when it comes to English language, right? The one-to-one correspondence between spelling and pronunciation, right? Or depending upon the number of words that we use, right? We don't give equal importance to all the syllables or all the words, right, in a sentence, right? So the importance varies according to the contextual, content words used in a sentence, or according to the importance of a word in a sentence, right? So look at a few examples here. This is where exactly we need to practice. This how maybe I don't like to go deep into pronunciation, because there is an exclusive session on phonetics by Professor Neelakandan, right? And he will do it, right? And look at this. It is not let's have. Are we going? Right? It's not I will be going. I will be going. Right? It's are we going? Right? Godo. He doesn't like it. There's me, and so on. Right? It's not and so on. Right? And so on. Excuse me. Right? You shouldn't have. More and more. Right? It goes on. The list goes on. Right? And this is a practice can be given to students as well. right? You can make them, I mean, more the number of practices given to students, better their understanding about language would be, right? Right. And I said we have to expose students through different kinds of reading activities, which will ensure their communicative competency, right? And with the permission of the organizers, can I take two participants to read this conversation? Maybe I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes time for you to go through the entire conversation, right? And the conversation gives enough space for you to emote your expressions. That is what is really required of your reading, right? You have a reading passage, and your job is to emotionally, right, exhibit the character. And in order to do that, you have to get into the skin of the character. Can you do this? Any two?
Any two participants volunteer yourself?
Can you please volunteer yourself in reading this simple passage? Right. Let me go.
Yes.
Are you ready? Are there volunteers? Right. This is a conversation. This is taken from Cambridge University English, right? A conversation between Neil and Alice, right? Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Neil. And I'm Alice. Sorry, wait a minute, Neil. I'm just finishing this book. Okay. Last page. Nearly there. Oh, fantastic book. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. I'm glad you finished your book there, Alice. We are talking about books in today's program. What was it you were reading there? No, never mind, Neil. It's not your kind of book. You wouldn't like it. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? There are three different ways, right? Well, I just think you might read something a little more intellectual. Oh, I see. Well, we are talking about the kind of books people read and what they say about them today. Is perhaps you read the works of famous writers, the classics, Charles Dickens, Jane Austen, Shakespeare. People will think you are an intellectual. You can show off by reading these books, the classics. Perhaps you read popular novels or romantic fiction, light, easy read. Yeah, usually online, like an e-reader. That's an electronic book. Instead of pages, you read off the screen. Well, if you use an e-reader or a tablet, no one knows what you're reading. Hey, come on, there you are. Of course, no one knows. Well, that's good to hear. And that's the end of today's 6 Minute English. Please do join us again and keep reading books in English, highbrow classics or a light read. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Bye. Right? So, maybe usually I give it as an experiment. Since we are running out of time, I do it myself, right? So we can have students, we can have participants to read a passage like this, right? And they have to exhibit the same kind of emotion which is demanded of the passage, right? Look at, and can anyone come to my rescue in reading this small incident? Like, maybe I'll give you a few 1 or 2 minutes time to quickly go through, right? One volunteer. I don't need two. Can anyone?
Sir, may I read?
Yes. One second. Yes, please.
A son who came with his old father to a restaurant for an evening dinner. Father, being very old and weak, dropped food on his shirt and trousers while eating. Other diners watched him in disgust and said, one after another, "Hey, what the hell this old man doing? Uncivilized he is. Why do they come out to dine? Ridiculous." His son remained calm. After he finished eating, his son, who was not at all embarrassed, said, "Appa, please don't mind. Come, let us go." He quietly took him to the washroom, wiped the food particles, removed the stains, combed his hair, and fitted his spectacles firmly. "Waiter, get me the bill, please," he requested. When they came out, the entire restaurant was watching them in dead silence, not able to grasp how someone could embarrass themselves publicly like that. The son settled the bill and started walking out with his father. At that time, an old man among the diners called out to the son and asked him, "Hello, my dear young man. Don't you think you have left something behind?" "No, sir, I haven't. Are you sure?" "Yeah, no, sir, I'm sure." The old man retorted, "Yes, you have." The son was blinking. "You left a lesson for every, so I can't, yeah, for every son and hope for every father.
Thank you, Ma. It's wonderful, right? Right. We also need to understand one more thing about reading, right? Reading becomes better depending upon your familiarity with the passage, familiarity with the sentence structure, right? Familiarity with the words, right? So when you establish familiarity with regard to these three things, I think your reading becomes better. Suppose I ask another volunteer to read it, the reading may be much better than the first reading, because it is a question about familiarity, not about the ability sometimes, right? So let me read it. A son took his old father to a restaurant for an evening dinner. Father, being very old and weak, dropped food on his shirt and trousers while eating. Other diners watched him in disgust and said one after another, "Hey, what the hell is this old man doing? Uncivilized he is. Why do they come out to dine?" Right? Out in capital letters, right? Must be stressed. Why do they come out to dine? Ridiculous. His son remained calm. After he finished eating, his son, who was not at all embarrassed, said, "Appa, please don't mind. Come, let's go." He quietly took him to the washroom, wiped the food particles, removed the stains, combed his hair, and fitted his spectacles firmly. "Waiter, get me the bill, please," he requested. When they came out, the entire restaurant was watching them in dead silence, not able to grasp how someone could embarrass themselves publicly like that. The son settled the bill and started walking out with his father. At that time, an old man amongst the diners called out to the son and asked him, "Hello, my dear young man. Don't you think you have left something behind?" "No, sir, I haven't." "Are you sure?" "Yeah, no, sir. I'm sure." The old man retorted, "Yes, you have. Yes, you have." The son was blinking. "You left a lesson for every son and hope for every father." Right? So this what exactly, maybe like this, you can reach out to different stories, maybe a 1 minute story or 1 page story, to make students read the story and emote the expressions which are required for a particular story. Right? That's very exactly, they also practice communication. Right? Now, and apart from the usual kind of reading, there is something called news reading, right? Maybe all these stories I took it from today's newspaper, today's The Hindu, right? And as far as news reading is concerned, there is no space for emotion, no space to exhibit your emotions. be it a joy news, right, or be it a sad news, right, you have to be, you as a news reader have to be neutral, right, to all kinds of news, right? And look at the news, which maybe a news which are followed by headlines, right? All the news in capital letters are headlines, right? And then there is a sub caption after headlines, and there is an opening paragraph, right? Farmers reject center's call for talks, say Burari is an open jail. Farmers reject center call for talks, say Burari is an open jail. They say they'll block 5 entry points in Delhi. Farmer groups have rejected the Home Minister's conditional invitation for talks and refused to shift to the designated protest grounds in Burari, calling it an open jail. Right, that's the first news. And Coimbatore reports 148 new cases, 1 death. The Nilgiri sees 37 cases, Salem 78, and Europe 70. Coimbatore district reported 148 new cases of COVID-19 on Sunday, taking the number of patients under institutional care to 919. Kindle the curiosity. At a time when marks rule the roast, children need to be taught to learn by doing, say experts. For most students and parents alike, textbooks are synonymous with learning. In short, when in doubt, turn to textbooks has become the unsaid refrain over the decades. Right? So when you read something, you are reading maybe as a news reader, your reading is neutral, right? Now, this is specifically something to do with the literature students, right? This way exactly you can develop your critical thinking ability, right? So when you read literature, when you read a poem or a short story or a novel, right? There is no only one interpretation. There are multiple interpretations, right? How do you look at it? How do you look at the meaning of the poem or a short story? No, I have chosen a few poems, right? I think they are very famous. The first one, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, a soft pipe play on, not the sensual ear, but more endeared. Beauty is truth, truth, beauty. That's all you know on earth and all you need to know, right? And can anyone tell me where are these lines taken from? Can anyone? Very famous lines of John Keats. You find a reference here on the screen. Can anyone? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Right? It goes on, and beauty is truth, truth, beauty. Can anyone?
Dear participants, you can volunteer yourself. Any one of you?
It's always a problem to see who is to build the cat. Right, no problem. And these lines are taken from John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn. Right, it's already available on the slide. Right. Yes.
Sir, shall I, sir?
Yes, ma.
Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, you soft pipes play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared. Beauty is truth, truth, beauty. That is all you know on earth, and all you need to know. It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. When finally we reached the place, we hardly know why we were there. The trip had darkened every face. Our deeds were neither great nor rare. Home is where we have to gather grace.
Okay, thank you, ma. May I know your name?
Dharani Priya, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Dharani Priya.
Thank you, sir.
Right. So, when you look at the first few lines, heard melodies are sweet. What do you know about it? What do you want to say about it? What does it convey? Can anyone? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Right? As I said, the unheard always arouses the curiosity of the reader. Right? Arouses the curiosity in general. Right? Because the unheard is unassuming. Right? The unspoken words have multiplicity of meanings. Right? There's not only one meaning. Right? Silence speaks volumes. Silence speaks volumes. Right? Because the said words are said words. The withered words are the words withered. Right? They have meaning in it. Whereas the unheard are unspoken. Right? Unassuming. We don't get to know the meaning. Right? So look at the last two lines. Beauty is truth. There goes a philosophy. Beauty is truth. Truth, beauty. That's all you know on earth and all you need to know. Right? And to put it in Tamil, beauty is truth. அழகுதான் உண்மை, உண்மையாயிருத்தலே அழகு. Beauty is truth, truth, beauty. That's all you know on earth and all you need to know, right? And there's a striking similarity in Tamil movie lyrics too, right? The lyric goes like this: அழகே அழகு, எதுவும் அழகு, அன்பின் வெளியில் எல்லாம் அழகு, மழை மட்டுமா அழகு, சுடும் வெயில் கூட ஒரு அழகு. Right? So when you look at things from the perspective of love and affection, everything looks beautiful. Everything looks beautiful. Right? So beauty knows no bounds. Right? So whatever that you see on earth is beautiful. Right? Wherever there is truth, it is beautiful. So the line goes on, the lyric goes on, மலர் மட்டுமா அழகு, விழும் இலை கூட ஒரு அழகு, புன்னகை வீசிடும் பார்வைகள் அழகு, வார்த்தைகள் தீர்கையில் மௌனங்கள் அழகு, நன்மைக்கு சொல்லிடும் பொய்களும் அழகு, உண்மையில் அதுதான் மெய்யாய் அழகு. Right? So நன்மைக்கு சொல்லிடும் பொய்களும் அழகு, உண்மையில் அதுதான் மெய்யாய் அழகு. So I think it is an essential part of the teacher, right? To arouse the curiosity of the reader to read more, to make him enjoy, to make him relish his reading, right? To make him create meaning for himself, right? To recreate meaning, right? To calibrate something, to recalibrate, right? So all these job must be done by the reader, right? And a teacher's job is to create a platform for the readers to do it, right? Where language cannot be a barrier, right? Let him think in any language possible, right? Be it in vernacular or in English, right? But ultimately, what is required is thinking creatively, developing critical perspective towards something, right? That is very much essential, right? And as we move on, it started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. When finally we reached the place, we hardly know why we were there. The trip had darkened every face. Our deeds were neither great nor rare. Home is where we have to gather grace. Right? So what do you understand by this? Anybody? Let me spare another 1 or 2 minutes to get your views about this particular poem. It started as a pilgrimage. Can you tell me from where these lines are taken? Anybody? It started as a pilgrimage, exalting minds and making all the burdens light. Right? And then there's a gap, right? The lyric goes on, the poem goes on. At last, when finally we reached the place, we hardly know why we were there. The trip had darkened every face. Our deeds were neither great nor rare. home is where we have to gather grace. Can you tell me where these lines are? Right. This is taken from Nitin Ezekiel's Enterprise. Right? Enterprise, which talks about people attitude towards worshipping God, right, or searching for God, right? You go in search of God everywhere, right? But in course of your journey, in course of your pilgrimage, right, what you really do is you search for materialistic aspects, right? You look at things, you get involved in fluids, right? You quarrel among yourself, right? At last, when you reach the place only to understand, right? Searching God is not in going to places. Instead, right? God is there inside you. God is there at home, right? So home is where we have to gather grace, right? So that since you the philosophy, maybe we can tend to know when I give give the passage to participants or students like you, right? There can be multiple layers of interpretations, right? And the last one, something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it. He moves in darkness as it seems to me, not of words, no, words only, and the shade of grace. He will not go behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, good fences make good neighbors. Can you tell me where do these lines appear? Can anyone?
Sir, may I?
Yes, please.
Sir, is it from Robert Frost's Mending Wall?
Mending world, exactly, right? So the last line is a famous line, right? Good fences make good neighbors, right? Whether good fences really make good neighbors or it divides people, right? So once again, there goes a philosophy whether the wall is to be mended or it is to be left as it is, right? So this kind of passages will definitely, make you think, right? Make you critically think, right? Last one. I mean, this also left for your critical reading. Here, I will definitely should draw all your attention. Can you? This is left for a critical reading, right? The first example, I mean, the first one is exemplify, right? This is called a two-line story. Two-line story where the first line is available here in the slide. Second line you have to supply in order to make it a complete story, right? The first one is already exemplified, right? First one is an example for you to fall in line, right? Keep track of the story, right? She was very excited today as the school was reopening after a long summer break. This is the first line, right? Second line, no, when you look at the first line, what do you think is, right? Maybe after a break like COVID-19, right? COVID-19, people will long to go back to school in order to have fun with their classmates, right? To meet the teachers, right? To be with their friends, right? So that's how you might start thinking. Whereas when you look at the line here, there's a shift, there's a twist in the story. She was very excited today as the school was reopening after a long summer break, right? Now, once again, she could start selling stationery at the traffic signal to feed her family, right? So there happens a twist. Like this, I have some 5 other two-line stories, right? Where one line is available here. You have to supply the second line in order to make it a story. Can we do this now? At least one. One. Can anyone? Maybe I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes time, right? You can do it yourself. She, a renowned artist and a strict mother, often scolded her 6-year-old son for he could never draw a line straight. Right? And you have to supply another line to make us understand what happens, right? Or to make it a complete story. Can you try? Shall I give you 1 or 2 minutes time? Everyone goes with the flow, but the one who goes against it becomes someone remarkable. What is the next line? At 25, I became a mother of one. At 27, I became a mother of two. And today, at 55, I have become a mother of three. How? Right? Your line must explain. Born to rich parents, this boy is so lucky. Exclaim the neighbors. Why? Once a 5-year-old boy was standing barefoot in the shallow water of the ocean, repeating the same sentence to waves. What did he repeat? Can anyone try? We have almost come to the end of our presentation. I would be happy if you respond to me at least with one or two stories. There is an example in the beginning. The first one stands as an example for you to think in a particular way, right? Or to streamline your thinking, not in a particular way, right? We call it thinking out of box. Can anyone? Can anyone? Right. Maybe I just leave it for your understanding and experiment. Right. Maybe I'll read the last one. Right. Once a 5-year-old boy was standing barefoot in the shallow water of the ocean, repeating the same sentence to waves. Even if you touch my feet 1,000 times, I won't forgive you for taking away my mother. Right? Once a 5-year-old boy was standing barefoot in the shallow water of the ocean. He was repeating the same sentence to the waves. Even if you touch my feet 1,000 times, I won't forgive you for taking away my mother. Right? So one example. Maybe you can do the rest. Right. And your critical thinking ability can also be a streamline, right, with limited scope. Right? Here is a poem by Abdullah Soib. Right? I am very ugly, so don't try to convince me that I am a very beautiful person, because at the end of the day, I hate myself in every single way, and I am not going to lie to myself by saying this beauty inside of me that matters. So rest assured, I will remind myself that I am a worthless, terrible person, and nothing you say will make me believe I still deserve love, because no matter what, I am not good enough to be loved, and I'm in no position to believe that beauty does exist within me, because whenever I look in the mirror, I always think, am I as ugly as people say? Right? Now, you can read it from the reverse. You can read it from the reverse. This needs little practice, right? This requires practice, right? And you can do it very methodically too, right? No, you don't need to be a very spontaneous thinker, embedded with or blessed with thinking ability, right? Instead, you can do it very methodically. Here, I have created a template, right? Fill in the blanks as directed so that it makes sense reading from both the top down and the bottom up, right? I am. You can supply a negative word, right? Maybe I am ugly, right? Or I'm a robber, right? A negative word. And I refuse to believe that I am virtuous, right? I am pretty, right? Any positive word. So when you keep on doing like this, right, there emerges a very good poem, right? Very good poem. So you do it very methodically, right? This is called a controlled reading exercise, right? Not a liberated kind of thinking, right? Rather, it is a controlled reading practice, right? A writing practice comes out of your reading, right? Now, these are some of the websites that you can depend on, right? Especially in a context where today's generation are techno savvy, right? Digital native, they call themselves digital natives, right? They are bored of reading hard copies, right? Novels or books, right? Suppose you are good at reading from laptops or mobile phones or even desktops or iPod, there are a lot of websites available, right? You can maybe access some of these websites like audiobooks, audible.in, LibriVox, right? You also get the clues about the settings, right? How their voice could be, right? They supplement your imagination, right? You have a particular way of imagining things, right? Maybe when you hear somebody, right, that probably supplements your imagination, right? At last, I lived in books more than I lived anywhere else, right? A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one, right? So when you read, right, you live in every character of the novel, right? And you go to places depending upon the novels that you read, right? And you can travel to as many places as there are indicated in a particular work of art. So a reader lives 1,000 lives, right? He or she associates himself or herself with the characters in the novel, right? So you can live in all the characters' lives. The man who never reads lives only one, right? As said by George or Martin. So what we need to do is read a lot of Chekhov, then reread it. Read Isaac Asimov, read Raymond Carver, Ernest Hemingway, Alice Munro, and Tobias Wolff. If you don't have time to read all of these authors, stick to Chekhov. He will teach you more than any writing teacher or workshop you ever could. Happy reading. Now, I'm ready to take your questions. Hope I'm done with.
Yes. Thank you, sir. It was a contented presentation, sir. And thank you for your elaborated presentation on language skills through reading. So let me invite participants for their queries, sir.
Yes, please,
Can,
ma'am.
yeah. Participants, you can post your queries in the chat box.
Or let them unmute their mics and talk to me, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is
Right.
okay.
If they find it laborious to type the messages, they can unmute their mics and talk to me, right? Raise questions. I may be able to respond to them.
Excuse me, sir. And we have some, if we get some questions from YouTube live streaming, I'll tell you the questions, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Participants, it's time to ask questions, ma.
You can ask questions. You can clarify, or no. You can also share something in addition to what I did. Right? I would be happy to listen to you. Anything that you would like to share with me?
There are a lot of feedbacks posted in the chat box, sir.
Okay. I don't. One second. Oh, I'm sorry. Since it was in the slide sharing mode, I couldn't read the responses like vote on aggression on and other responders. Sorry for that. Sorry, participants. You have been very interactive through chat box messages. Right. Every second was worth the
Sir, there
time.
is a question, sir,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
from Prohit. So the question is, at the present time, students are not interested in reading. They are
Reading.
engaged in watching movies. So how can we take their minds towards reading? That is the question, sir.
I mean, the question can be approached in two different ways, ma'am. One is the teachers in classrooms can make them engage in reading activities, right? They can show them the path as how reading can become beautiful, right? Where they can reach the unreached horizons of knowledge, right? And another thing, it is purely individualistic. How much ever the discussion that take place in the classroom, yet it becomes a question about the individual's habit of reading, right? So one need to understand the fact that reading gives you the luxury of understanding life, right? So it is purely individualistic. Start reading something simple, right? Maybe a short story, maybe a short fiction, right? Maybe in today's context, pulp fiction becomes quite popular, right? I mean, people love reading writers like Chetan Bhagat, right? So when your friends read Chetan Bhagat, please you also read Chetan Bhagat, right? So once when you make yourself comfortable with a reading of this sort, then you may be persuaded to read more, right? Prompted to read more. That's fair. So basically, reading should start with you, right? Then naturally, I think you may reach an elevated level of reading.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I think I have
I
answered
got the answers.
question. Yes. Any other question from anybody? Thank you all for your compliments. I see the chat box.
So there is one more question, sir, from
Yes,
Banu.
ma'am. Yes.
How to engage a mind to reading a book without fed up?
I mean, that touches upon a psyche of an individual, right? So you need to make yourself very comfortable when you read something, right? You get fed up with something. Sometimes, while talking about the ability of your reading, you can complete your reading. Maybe a book which is consisting of 300 pages. You can cross at least 100 pages. 100 pages in an hour or so, right? Or in a couple of hours. Whereas in at another point of time, you may not be able to move even one page because your mind is occupied or obsessed with some problems, right? Or maybe obsessed with not exactly a problem, obsessed with something where you don't focus upon your reading, right? So what is really required is make your mind free in order to receive information, right? So it is not actually about the ability, and that comes definitely out of practice. Even if you leave a space, right? You are a voracious reader, right? You read avidly, right? Sometimes you leave a gap. Once again, when you take rescue in reading, when you are resorted to read, right? What happens? You will not be able to move a few pages, right? You will develop a kind of sleepiness, right? And you become tired out of your reading, right? Once again, you must pull your mind back to read, right? It comes out of constant practice. Definitely comes out of constant practice, right? So there is no other way, right? And another thing, read anything that interests you, right? When something that really interests you, you will not give up, right? That's a simple thing.
Thank you, sir. One more question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Why our Indian students are not much practical as foreign students?
Practical in what sense? I don't know. No, there is a question. Let me panoramically understand the question and answer the question. Even when it comes to writing, right? There are no Indian writers writing in English, or Indian writers, when I say Tamil writers, right? Tamil writers writing in English, right? Tamil writers, being expatriates, they write a lot, right? But Tamil writers, they don't write much in English. They don't contribute much in writing English novels. Like except a few cases like Geeta Hariharan, right, and other people, David, who belongs to Kanyakumari, who also writes English fictions, right? So except these people, the people who write English novels are very less, right? And one more thing, I don't exactly get his question, what he mean by practicality, right? Because being practical in what sense? Maybe about describing the culture, or I don't get you. Maybe if the question is quite a bit detailed, I think I would be able to answer his question.
Thank you, sir. Next question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
From Sukanya, how can we better our pronunciation while reading new words? We do not always know how they should be pronounced unless we hear the word. So how?
Right. Obviously, there is a separate session on pronunciation by Professor Nilakanthan. Anyway, pronunciation is a complex issue, not only for Indian students. It is a global issue, right? Because for a simple fact that even in the place where place England, where we believe that language has been born, right, has a lot of complexities, right? The accent varies for every 25 kilometers in England or in the UK, right? Because people who are living in England are from various other places. They are from Scotland, they are from European countries. So for every 25 miles, the accent varies, right? So that is the crux of the issue, even in the place where English is believed to have been born, right? And when it happens, when it comes to the Indian context, definitely it poses a lot of complexities, right? There's no doubt about it, right? And being Indians, right, we always compare our mother tongue with English language, right? And basically we need to understand that the platform which is set to learn our mother tongue and the platform which is set to learn English language are largely different, right? They are very different. So that's why that's why I said English is a time-stressed language, right? We don't give equal importance to every phoneme or every letter of alphabet, right? Rather, we look holistically as a word or as a sentence, right? So that's exactly the problem, right? Please don't compare your vernacular with English language, right? Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, Devda, sir.
Yes, Vijay.
Yeah, nice having you here, sir.
Wonderful listening to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to add something to your answer to the first question. How to make
Yes,
students
yes, sir.
create interest in reading.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Most of them find it difficult making the students read or get into the groove of reading.
Yes, sir.
So I
Yes, sir.
thought I could just suggest to what you have already said.
Yes.
May I?
Please,
May I?
please go ahead, sir.
You
I would
can.
be happy.
Faculty could make students read certain small anecdotes which they find on their mobile phones. For example, Professor Vijay had given one example of school reopening, and the lady there could sell her pencils and all that stationery. That could be one example. They could read small anecdotes. The second one is they could be taken to book exhibitions where an interest could be created in the students. First, let them go through all the books. Sometimes they'll be interested in something which they will just pick up and just try to go through the contents and just turn the pages over initially. But then that would definitely help them read something later on to find out what is inside. So that creates an interest in the reading. The third one could be they could go to newspapers where they could start, for example, whatever Professor Vijay has already mentioned, you whatever you're interested in, you read whatever you're interested in. Yes. You start with a sports page, you go to that. You read about Diego Maradona, or you read about the present cricket series between India and Australia. You create an interest in reading, you read the first paragraph. That will lead you to just go through the other pages of the newspaper by which they will later on get interested in reading. Okay, that's what I wanted to add, Vijay. Thank you for permitting me to do that.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I think students would be interested. Faculty also would have found it very, very convincing what Professor Vijay has delivered today. Wonderful presentation, no doubt.
Yes.
And its pursuits of language.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having eminent professors like you as
Thank you. Nice listening to you.
part of my participant group, sir.
I have become a student today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir.
Thank you. Nice listening to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, shall we wind up the question and answer session, sir? I think there is
fine, ma'am.
no other question.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you all. I sincerely thank the organizers for having given me this opportunity. It was wonderful being with you all. Thank you again.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So let me invite Ms. D. Sneka, Assistant Professor, Department of English, SRCW, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thankfulness is the quickest path to joy, says Jefferson Bethick. A big thanks to Dr. Anbalahan Vijay for his efforts towards the topic pursuit of language skills through reading. The techniques in reading, as critical reading and Penier's technique for spoken English, were very interesting for all the participants. On behalf of Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women and Department of English, I may like to express our sincere thanks to Dr. Anbalahan Vijay for giving an excellent coverage to the topic pursuit of language skills through reading. We are all inspired by the great words, sir. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks again. Right. I thank all the participants for your enthusiastic participation. Thank you all again. May I leave the session now, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dear participants, the feedback link is posted in the chat box. I request the participants to fill in your views. Thank you all.
Dear participants, there is an announcement regarding tomorrow's program. The same timing will be followed tomorrow. The timing for the tomorrow's session is